Hey guys, it's Inga, and in this video, I will only be making and eating foods from Studio Ghibli films for 24 hours. Since I did the Disney Princess Cooking Challenge from last time, I have read all your comments and received a lot of amazing follow-up requests, but this is one of those that got me really excited because I love Studio Ghibli films. I grew up with them. I even worked at a store that sold Studio Ghibli products. It's so incredible how they are able to build these magical worlds from scratch. And also, the food in every single film of theirs just looks incredible. Maybe it's just something to do with anime food. They always look even better than they do in real life. Because there's so many films to choose from, I am going to try and pack in as much as I can within these 24 hours. I am truly very looking forward to this because this is something that I've been wanting to do for such a long time, and now I get to do it with you guys. So with that being said, let's get to the kitchen and start cooking. Good morning, everyone. It is the beginning of a brand new day, and I am so pumped to test out all these new recipes and also really looking forward to being able to eat all of them. I feel like for breakfast, the most classic one that we immediately think of is the one from Howl's Moving Castle. Thick strips of bacon and eggs, but because I feel like it's a dish that has also been done so many times already, what I'm gonna be making instead is the ramen from Ponyo. I actually grew up eating ramen for breakfast. It's fairly popular in Hong Kong. So to me, it kind of makes sense, just that I might be treating myself a little bit. So with that being said, let me show you guys the ingredients I have. There's only 4 ingredients required for this ramen. The most important thing is this ramen. The reason I bought this one specifically is that it actually doesn't require cooking over the stovetop. All you really need to do is pour hot water and then cover it with a lid and wait for 3 minutes. That's actually exactly what they did in Ponyo. Remember how the mom came in, she poured like hot water? So we'll be able to recreate that scene almost exactly. Ramen aside, there's also some scallions as garnish, as well as a hard-boiled egg and some ham, which Ponyo was obsessed with, so I had to make sure I got some good ham. So I think breakfast will be pretty straightforward. I'm gonna cook the egg really quick, chop up my scallions, slice the ham, and then we can get the ramen going. My egg has been boiled, it's all peeled now, so we're gonna slice it in half. Nice. I have all my ingredients ready. It is time to cook the ramen. This is what the ramen looks like on the inside. You can see that it's already been flavored. There's no extra broth packets. So I'm just going to go ahead and put all of this in here. Instructions say to put 400 milliliters of water. Just gonna cover it up. My bowl didn't come with a lid, so I'm just using my pot lid, but I'm setting it now for 3 minutes on my phone, and I'll probably add the rest of the toppings around 2.5 minutes in. It is done. Ta-da! I love how this looks, and the noodles are definitely cooked. It also just smells really good. I can totally see why Ponyo would love this. Also, before I start digging in, I'm just gonna make a quick drink. Because I remember in the film, the mom made this honey drink for both of them, and look at that. I just remember this scene being so satisfying in the movie. Pretty much just adding some honey to a little bit of milk and hot water. On a cold winter night, this is perfect. Now let me dig into the ramen. You can see that the noodles are a little flatter. Ooh, I should also try the broth. Broth is also really good. It's very much just like chicken soup with, I think, some soy sauce. The texture of this noodle is also, I think, more similar to that of cup noodles, which is probably why it cooks so fast. I'm also gonna have a piece of ham. Ponyo, when she saw this, she was like, ham! This is for Ponyo. As you guys can see, just like in the film, this meal is so straightforward. Everybody, when we think of Ponyo now, we think of this bowl of ramen exactly, and it really is as comforting as it looks. So I'm gonna finish the rest of this now before we move on to the next meal. It is lunchtime and I am ready to make some more food and eat again. So for this meal, I am thinking of making the bento box from Totoro. I remember being amazed by just how much the older sister Satsuki could cook. She was still just a kid, but she was making these amazing meals for her family and also these beautiful bento boxes. So yeah, I thought I would give it a try. I love making bento boxes normally. I once made a really cute one. I do have a bento box here. I'll be packing lunch in this tiny little box. Let me show you guys the ingredients I have. So again, for this meal, there aren't that many ingredients, some edamame beans, and then I have some fish here. I believe they're called capelin or capelin. I know my grandma actually just grills these and eats them with a little bit of salt. So that's probably what I'm gonna do with that. Some umeboshi, which is just pickled plums. This I know is very, very common in Japanese cuisine. People generally enjoy this with rice, which is what we'll be doing today. And then for the pink portion, I have these salmon flakes. I believe in the film, they actually used another ingredient, sakura denbu, which I actually used in my pink foods cooking challenge before. It's basically this like seasoned codfish condiment. But since I couldn't find it this time, I'm going with this instead. And then of course over here I have my beautiful rice. Based on what we see of the ingredients, this is actually a fairly traditional Japanese bento box, so I am excited to put it together. Because I don't have a grill at home, I am just going to cook the fish over the stove top. I'm gonna add some salt and I'm going to let it slowly cook. In the meantime, I'm going to open this. This is pretty much already cooked. I just need to microwave them a little bit. I have all my ingredients ready to go. Now for my favorite part, assembling the bento box. First up is the rice, and there's gonna be a lot of it. Making bento boxes is one of the most therapeutic things. Lay our fish right on there. Fish flakes, it's a very fishy bento. And then the peas. Last but not least, just have a plum. There we go. Ta-da! That's kind of what it looks like. What do you think? Isn't this just so cute? Really packed with protein. There's a lot of rice. If I just packed it up. This is my little bento box. I would totally take this to work. I love this so much. There's like a considerable amount of weight in this because of all the rice. Just the idea of having somebody pack you a lunch like this. No wonder the younger sister was so excited. Like I would be excited if somebody made me this. I'm going to dig in. So this is the fish. There's a lot of like roll on this side. This definitely reminds me of my grandma's cooking. She can eat like 10 of these in one meal. The fish smell is definitely strong, but I like it and it's perfectly salty, so we can eat a good big bite of rice. I actually eat this a lot. Normally just salmon flakes with the rice. I knew going in that that was gonna be great. I'm gonna try this pickled plum. It has a very, very strong flavor that's like both sweet and savory with like kind of sourness to it. It's meant to be eaten with rice because of the like amount of flavor it packs into one bite. This is very, very enjoyable. It's so well balanced and it's so convenient. For those of you who haven't tried making a bento box before though, you should definitely give it a shot. Another meal down, time for me to do some more work before we eat some more food, I guess. So it hasn't been that long after lunch. It's still fairly early in the day. I just uploaded a cut of my video. I'm just waiting for notes and I'm craving something sweet. So I think now is a good time to take a mini break. I don't know how many of you actually recognize the character here, but this is Setsuko, the little girl from Grave of the Fireflies. Grave of the Fireflies is my most favorite Studio Ghibli film. It is also probably the most depressing. Every time I watch it, I cry. This candy is known as Sakuma Drops. They're these hard candies that are made with real fruit juice. This was Setsuko's favorite thing. Every time she was sad or upset or tired, her brother would give her one of these. And I think for me, because of how young I was when I first watched the film, I've always had a fondness for this. It actually says since 1908. And I know for as long as I've been here too that this packaging has stayed the same. This is super nostalgic for me. So this is what it looks like. It's like the flavors that we see on here. Already it smells kind of fruity. It's definitely very sweet, but I feel like you do get a lot more of those natural fruit flavors. All right, I'm gonna continue working now, but I'm glad to have this by my side. It is not quite dinner time yet. It's actually, I think, around like 4 p.m.-ish, but I thought I would pop into the kitchen for a snack. snack. Honestly, usually for snacks, I just grab something light like saltine crackers or fruits. But today I am in for a treat because I have the steamed buns from Spirited Away. In the film, I believe Chihiro gets these from her friends. They're just like these giant steamed buns that I guess is very popular in the bathhouse. I actually just went ahead and made my own. I have my own steamed bun recipe that I shared a while ago, and then I bought some red bean paste. And essentially what I did was wrap a big chunk of dough around an equally big chunk of red bean paste, and then I went ahead and steamed it, and that's what brings me to today, where I have this giant bun. I have never made steamed bun this big. The red bean is actually showing because of how much I tried to cram in there, but you do get the fluffiness still. I don't actually think I will be able to finish this if I want to have dinner, but I'm gonna go ahead and take a big bite. It was so satisfying seeing her bite into it. This is probably a meal in itself. Look at how much red bean I try to cram in there. That's why it's like coming out. It is very, very good. So I think I'm probably actually just gonna take a few more bites and then save the rest of this for tomorrow because it is a lot. It is also very satisfying to hold a bun this big. Work hours are now officially over, and that means I am ready to make some dinner. There were so many dishes to choose from, but I decided to go with this one salmon dish from Porco Rosso. This dish actually appears in the beginning of the film when Porco visits the hotel that is run by his friend Gina, treats himself to this nice fancy dinner. The dish seems relatively simple. The salmon is served with this sort of creamy white sauce. I'm gonna be making a beurre blanc sauce, which is essentially a fancy French butter sauce. Even though the film is set in Italy, I just assume that because it's such like a nice setting that the sauce is probably also elevated. So let's take a look at the ingredients. Some salmon, which I am going to cook in the oven, a lot of butter, shallots, some baby carrots, and then of course I have some white wine, which is to go with the sauce. And of course the white wine is also here for us to enjoy with our dinner later. So I'm gonna start with the sauce and begin with cutting up the shallots. Got my saucepan, put all of this right in, add in my wine. Now I'm just gonna turn it on to high heat and let it cook down until we only have around 2 tablespoons left. Prep my salmon so I can pop that in the oven. This has been reduced by a lot. You guys can see that there's barely any liquid left. I am going to turn the heat to low and just one by one put this butter in. My sauce is pretty much done. I am going to strain it and season it with a little bit of salt and pepper. Now is a good time for me to pop the salmon in the oven as well as cook my carrots. Pretty much after that, I will be ready to plate things up. All right, here we go. Starting off with my salmon, then my sauce. Trying to match the photo. Now for the carrots, which admittedly are not my favorite things. And there we go. This is the Porco Rosso salmon, I guess. There's not too much going on, but I'm excited to eat it, and I do want to recreate that scene of him cutting into it. This dish is a lot simpler than most of the other ones, but it is at the same time supposed to be the fanciest. So I am going to be enjoying this with a glass of white wine, similar to what Porco did. Okay, you know what? He had a whole bottle of wine. I'm gonna go get the whole bottle. I'm gonna put my wine right here off to a side and dig into this meal. I know the beurre blanc sauce doesn't look like much, but it actually goes really well with the salmon. Not surprisingly, it's very, very creamy, very, very rich. If you're ready for the sheer amount of butter that also goes into it. It's very good though. I feel like if I played some jazz music in the background, maybe had a sip of my wine, this could be me at a hotel somewhere in Italy having a meal by myself. Dinner was a pretty simple affair, but don't you worry because I have an extremely indulgent dessert coming up soon. So hang in there with me. I'm gonna finish my dinner and then we can probably pretty soon get to dessert. It's probably only been an hour after dinner or so, but it is time for what is probably my favorite meal of the day. For dessert today, I have decided to go all out and recreate the cake from Kiki's delivery service. Kiki actually gets this as a surprise gift from one of her customers, this like really kind old lady who I think wanted to wish her happy birthday. So in my head, I was immediately like, this has to be the best chocolate cake ever. So I actually started preparing for this cake 2 days ago. I actually followed a tasty recipe that's called the best chocolate cake, which I thought was pretty appropriate. It does involve some pretty interesting ingredients like mayo and stout, but I made sure to use the best chocolate I could find, and what I ended up with was this super rich, super chocolatey cake that wasn't too sweet, and it's just very, very dense. And then once my cake was done, I let it cool a little bit and then divided it up into 3 layers. And I also made this, again, super decadent, super rich chocolate buttercream frosting that I kind of sandwiched into the middle to create those beautiful layers, and then covered it up completely. This frosting truly is one of the most luxurious I have ever made. And after that, I made my chocolate ganache frosting, which really was just some semi-sweet chocolate, some bittersweet chocolate, some whipping cream, and a little bit of corn syrup because I really wanted it to be shiny just like it looked in the film. And then I just poured that all over my cake earlier today, and oh my god, it looked so good already. I was so tempted to eat it then. But of course I couldn't forget about the decorations, which I decided to make using fondant. I haven't really worked with fondant before, but what I essentially tried to do was to sketch out each letter and drawing onto like parchment paper, which I then cut up. This process was super tedious. I probably did not have the right tools to do most of this, but I tried my best, and yeah, this is what I ended up with. So it's been a super long journey. This cake really has taken a lot of time and effort, but that brings me to today, where I have my beautiful cake. Oh my god, it's so heavy. It's definitely on the shinier side. And then I also have my little fondant cutouts that I made earlier today. So what I'm gonna do now is very carefully transfer it onto the cake and try not to mess up. This is what's going to make our beautiful chocolate cake, the Kiki's delivery service cake. This is my picture reference. I just have this on the side. Put my ribbon back in, my tree. All right, and then my letters. Okay, last one. Woo! It is done! This is what my cake looks like. I am freaking out because I really thought I was going to like mess up really bad on this last step. But looking at it now, look at it. From this angle, it almost looks exactly like the one in the film. So happy, oh my goodness. I am so pleased. I really don't think I've made a dessert better than this like ever in my entire life. This has really been quite the project. I feel like a proud mom. I just gave birth to a cake. It is time for me to cut into this and enjoy my dessert. I have also been wanting to eat this for a long time. All right, let's cut up a slice. Goodbye, Kiki. I'm treating myself today. Wow. Can you see the inside? This is my cake. It's so much cake, but I love how this came out. Take a big bite right now. Cheers to finishing this challenge. Let me take a bite. This cake is incredible. There's so many flavors going on. The chocolate cake base in itself was already so rich and so dense, and then there was a chocolate buttercream frosting, another chocolate ganache frosting, which just feels like I'm eating truffles and cake at the same time. This meal is the best meal I have ever created on any of the challenges. This concludes my 24-hour Studio Ghibli meals only challenge. It has been such a great time, but I think the best part of this really was being able to bring all these amazing anime foods into real life, and I hope I did okay. I would love to know what you guys think, and also what other challenges should I try. On that note, I will see you guys next time while I finish up my cake. Bye!